Today on Histories Tech, we are looking at the Lockheed Martin C-130 Hercules. The aircraft, which has been flying for over 70 years, is part of an exclusive group of aircraft that have all flown for more than 50 years, including the English Electric Canberra, the B-52 Stratofortress, the Tupolev Tu-95, and the KC-135 Stratotanker. With this career, it has worked for more than 60 countries. Now, I want to go ahead and get into the history and development of the C-130 Hercules, but as always, there are some opinions included in this that are my own. The origin of the C-130 Hercules actually comes from the fact that there was a need to change cargo aircraft in the 1950s. The three most popular cargo aircraft, the Fairchild C-119 Flying Boxcar, the Douglas C-47 Skytrain, and Curtiss C-46 Commando, were all developed during the 1940s. Since these were initially civilian aircraft, it was time to build a military cargo aircraft from the ground up. So at the time, the options were the new and ever-developing jet engine or the slightly older turboprop. The United States Air Force called for a new program in 1951 for a new type of cargo aircraft. Now, this would be a specific military cargo aircraft, unlike previous cargo aircraft that had been converted from civilian aircraft. This one was to carry 92 passengers minimum, 72 combat troops or 64 paratroopers in a cargo compartment, and it had to have a ramp that hinged at the rear of the fuselage. Now, the final two companies in the program to compete were Douglas Aircraft versus Lockheed. Lockheed chose Willis Moore Hawken to lead the design on their new aircraft, then known as Lockheed L-206. Hawkins, who was a lead designer for Lockheed for more than 50 years, helped develop aircraft such as the P-80, the F-94, the F-104. Hawkins put together a proposal for his new cargo aircraft known as the Lockheed Model 82. Hawkins' plans was almost destroyed by this man, Kelly Johnson, famous for aircraft such as the U-2 and the SR-71 Blackbird. Johnson thought building a slow-moving cargo aircraft would destroy Lockheed. Hawkins' design of the 82 would actually incorporate several popular features on aircraft that already existed, such as the Fairchild C-130 and the Boeing C-97 Stratofreighter, which had rear ramps that were drivable. And while some people do believe the C-123 is either an earlier version of the Hercules or a scaled-down version, they are actually two completely different aircraft, and the C-123 is actually a prop version of the Chase XCG-20. The first prototype of the C-130 flew in August of 1954, only 3 years after its conception. Interestingly enough, the two prototypes satisfied the military by meeting all of the goals of the aircraft. Production immediately began on full production C-130s. The first prototypes, then known as C-130As, were just basically exact copies of the prototypes, including their blunt noses. But it wouldn't take long until the first variants began to appear, this being the C-130B model. And these early upgrades included auxiliary fuel tanks that are very common on C-130s to this day in order to increase their range. They also redid an AC electrical system. And it is with these upgrades on the B model that we begin to see the lifelong production of improvement on the C-130, more so than probably any other aircraft in history. Now, the first deployment of the C-130 would be in 1956, where they would be deployed with the 463rd Troop Carrier Wing at Ardmore Air Force Base in Oklahoma. That same year, we would see the first alternative use variant, a reconnaissance version of a C-130A known as a C-130A2. In 1958, the C-130 started being sold to foreign countries such as Australia and the Royal Canadian Air Force. And in 1963, the C-130 gained its fame and one of its earliest records by becoming the largest, heaviest aircraft to land on an aircraft carrier. It made 29 touch-and-go landings and 21 unarrested full-stop landings and 21 unassisted takeoffs off of the USS Forrestal. The claim was never that the C-130 was ever going to be deployed off of an aircraft carrier, and instead it was to test the feasibility of using the aircraft carrier to launch and recover Lockheed U-2 aircraft. The aircraft saw its first use in a combat zone in the 1960s, where in addition to cargo roles, it was being utilized for forward air control missions over the Ho Chi Minh Trail. At the same time, it was being deployed to Africa to help with Operation Dragon Rouge, which was a hostage crisis in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and the Indian-Pakistan War of 1965. It It was even utilized by government agencies such as the CIA during the 1960s. Both A and B models would serve throughout the entire Vietnam War, with the A model being retired after the war and the B model going on to serve. The D model, which had a unique feature of having skis at this time, would actually be deployed to countries such as Antarctica, where the ski variant would be prominently used. The aircraft would be continuously used in the 1980s in conflicts such as the Falkland Wars or in the Gulf War in 1991. Its service would continue into the 21st century, where it would be utilized in multiple conflicts such as the invasion of Afghanistan, the invasion of Iraq, the war in the northwest Pakistan, and even with non-combat situations such as the Deepwater Horizon oil spill and Hurricane Harvey. The aircraft would gain another usage, spraying for mosquitoes. Now, as I've stated, there are more than 40 variants to the aircraft, and most of these are just upgrades, avionics, improvements to engines, things like that, which is going to lead us to our current model, which is the C-130J Super Hercules. However, there have been quite a few aircraft that are mission-specific variants, electronic warfare modules such as the C-130A2 Dreamboat, or command modules such as the EC-130, refueling tankers, the KC-130, which is utilized by the United States Marine Corps as both an aerial refueling tanker and tactical airlift aircraft. The DC-130, which was used to both control and launch drones. The semi-secretive JC-130, designed to retrieve spy satellite film. One of my personal favorites that was never built, a C-130 that could be on floats. But arguably the most famous variant is, of course, the AC-130 gunship. I have discussed this aircraft previously on a video on gunships, and I'll probably do a video about it on its own in the future. But needless to say, converting a cargo aircraft into a close air support aircraft is a rather interesting variant. Because of all the variants and the importance of this aircraft, there are no plans of retiring this aircraft anytime soon. If you would like to see one of these aircraft up close and personal, they are actually on display in more than 12 countries, with more than 17 on display in the United States alone. But there you have it, kind of a quick look at an aircraft with more than 70 years of service that has no sign of stopping anytime soon and will more than likely continuously be updated for the next probably 50 years or more. And I, like so many, look forward to the future for the C-130. That's it for today. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to talking to you on the next time.